Running Disney's errand, The Hollywood Reporter published a story detailing how Marvel is quietly retooling, so you should get excited for the MCU again. Well, I'm here to tell you why you shouldn't, because based on what they're saying here, nothing is changing. Before I break down the flaws with this piece, let's see what bridge studio mouthpiece The Hollywood Reporter is trying to sell you. Their February 21st piece, titled How Marvel is Quietly Retooling Amid Superhero Fatigue, says in the byline, "The studio's golden box office aura has been dented, but chief architect Kevin Feige isn't scrapping his years-long cinematic universe plan, just refining it. They're not going to give up," says an insider, who is probably named Kevin and who commissioned this piece in the first place. Well, duh, they're obviously not scrapping it. No one thought they were scrapping it. Neither Marvel nor Disney can afford to scrap the MCU, so that option was never on the table. The question is, how are they refining it? And as we shall see, based on what they're saying in this very article, they aren't. The piece itself reads, just over a year ago, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was set to take Marvel Studios to the next level. Okay, let's stop right there, because no, it wasn't. Marvel thought it was, because that's how out of touch they were with the audience. But that movie was never going to do anything other than underperform at best and outright bomb at worst, which is what it did. We know that Marvel thought it was going to blow up though, and by that I mean in the best way possible, because Joanna Robinson, co-author of the MCU book, said so in a podcast appearance which was far more revealing than the actual book. And quotes from this podcast appearance were spread far and wide. Marvel genuinely thought the movie was a banger, and they were shocked by the negative reviews, and horrified to learn that their barometer for what the audience would respond to was this off. What this Hollywood Reporter spin piece doesn't tell you is that Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania bombed because it was the referendum on all of Phase 4, the first phase where Kevin Feige was in complete and total control. No Ike Perlmutter and no Marvel Creative Committee. And Kevin blew it. Quantumania didn't just flop because of Quantumania, it flopped because the audience were already done by then. That's what happened in reality, but let's see how this studio mouthpiece spins it. A new villain was going to be introduced, setting the stage for several years' worth of storytelling, and the movie itself was a giant sizing of a franchise that was previously modest in scope. Instead, the Peyton Reed-directed movie heralded a year's worth of missteps, box office blunders, and PR nightmares. Yeah, no, that was all of the Phase 4 mistakes come back to haunt them. It was all uncharted territory for Marvel, which had steadily been generating box office gold for 15 years. Not to nitpick, but from Iron Man till Endgame is 11 years. The only box office gold since then was Sony's Spider-Man No Way Home. Female Black Panther Keep the Water Mexicans Out of Wakanda forever, and Guardians of the Galaxy 3 were both box office silver, not gold. Then they go through their most recent hits like the Deadpool 3 and X-Men 97 trailers and the Fantastic Four announcement before continuing. These public face-saving moves come as studio boss Kevin Feige recalibrates the creative direction behind the scenes. Oh really? Does he now? Well, I see a big problem with that, and it is this. Kevin Feige thought Quantumania was going to be a big hit, and was genuinely surprised by the negative reaction. Everything released since, like Secret Invasion, The Marvels, and Echo, all came from the same time frame, producerial team, and frame of mind that thought audiences were going to dig Quantumania. And the only reason they could possibly have thought that is that they genuinely had no clue how off the mark everything leading up to it had been. It's only in the last year that they've gotten the message that everything they've been developing the past 5 years repelled the audience. That's how out of touch they've been, and they've been that out of touch for 4 to 5 years straight. Probably they've been out of touch for even longer, but that's how long they've been completely free to follow every last one of Kevin Feige's whims. So, have they, in this last year alone, come to terms with the fact that everything they've done the past 5 years was wrong? Have they understood why it was wrong? And have they developed a plan for how to amend the mistakes they've made these past 5 years and gradually rebuild the trust of the audience? Based on what we're seeing here, I see nothing to suggest that. Case in point, the article continues. Early in February, the company completed reshoots for Agatha Darkhold Diaries, the WandaVision spin-off starring Catherine Hahn that is expected to hit Disney Plus this fall. The company usually budgets 5 days of reshoots into the schedule, but the studio completed the work in just 1, fueling a sunny outlook around the show internally, according to sources associated with the series. The problem here is that Agatha All Along, by all accounts a series which is all about LGBTQIAP+ messaging, is also a product of the exact same producerial team and mindset that has repelled audiences. It was developed right alongside She-Hulk and Secret Invasion, yet they claim to have fixed it with 1 day of reshoots? Riddle me this, could Secret Invasion have been fixed with 1 day of reshoots? The answer is that no, it couldn't. No amount of reshoots could have fixed something so fundamentally flawed. And my hunch is that just like pretty much everything else they've released these past 5 years, that will prove to be the case with Agatha All Along as well. In retrospect, Marvel would have been better off if they had pulled a Saslaw and scrapped Secret Invasion for a tax credit. And if they were serious about retooling, that's what they should have done to Agatha All Along as well. It came from the same place from which nothing good has come, so honestly, it should have been scrapped. In fact, why stop there? They should scrap Ironheart as well as the upcoming Falcon Captain America and the Thunderbolts as well. All of these came from the same mindset that gave us the Eternals and thought Quantumania was a banger. So why would any of these be any better? If Marvel were serious about retooling, why are any of these still coming out? It gets worse though. The recurring theme in Kevin Feige productions is that they enter production with an unfinished script, do emergency polishes in the weeks prior to filming, then they rework the script while they're filming, and all too often they find out that what they filmed wasn't good enough, and so they have to do more rewrites after the fact and then go back for reshoots. Let's see if they have learned the error of their ways. The article says, the studio also quietly hired Eric Pearson to polish the script for Fantastic Four, which will shoot this summer in London. Pearson is the company's stalwart who worked on Thor Ragnarok and Black Widow, and has a reputation for taking projects over the finish line. The stakes for that movie are high, as the studio is still searching for characters and actors who can carry its universe forward after the exits of Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans. In other words, the script right now isn't done, so they're rushing it like there's no tomorrow, and instead of some new or even proven talent, they hired someone they've worked with before who probably knows exactly what Kevin Feige likes, and who most recently worked on the abominable Black Widow. In other words, business as usual like they did before. I see no signs of retooling here. Moving on. Marvel also hired Joanna Kahlo, the showrunner of acclaimed FX series The Bear, to work on the script for Thunderbolts, The Hollywood Reporter has learned. The film will begin shooting in March in Atlanta. Her hiring adds a flair of prestige to the project, which stars Florence Pugh and, according to a source who has read previous drafts of the script, centers on villains and anti-heroes going on a mission that was supposed to end with their deaths. In other words, the movie is set to shoot in weeks. It's still being worked on, and in the end it'll just be Marvel's Suicide Squad. So why is this movie still on the docket? How is this not cancelled? Later on, the article says, the focus is internal this year, says one insider of all the tinkering going on behind the scenes. Executives are not calling it a reboot, not even a soft one, but more of a creative retooling. How? Apart from appointing showrunners to some TV series, they're not changing anything as far as I can see. On the contrary, they would appear to be carrying on exactly like before, proceeding with projects that came from a period of message-driven creative bankruptcy. The article concludes with, the dual writers and actors strikes, while costly to Hollywood, ironically gave Marvel breathing space. It was able to reschedule its movies so that only Deadpool and Wolverine will be released in 2024, and only 2 series, Echo and Agatha, are bowing on Disney Plus this year. Other movies remain in the script stage, while TV shows such as Ironheart have filmed, but have no release date in sight. It is all designed to give creatives some breathing room and give audiences the chance to miss the MCU just a little bit. The problem is that with output like the Marvels, Echo, She-Hulk and Secret Invasion, no one is going to miss the MCU, not even a little bit. And then, when it comes back with the likes of Agatha All Along and Ironheart, or Captain America 4, or the filler-to-be that is the Thunderbolts, then guess what? Audiences are going to wish it had stayed away. Just look at Star Wars. There hasn't been a Star Wars movie for 5 years, and still there is zero demand for another. Meanwhile, on Disney Plus, the Star Wars fanbase is actively dreading The Acolyte, due out this summer. Like Star Wars, Marvel can't be brought back by bringing out, if we're honest, shit that needed to be scrapped. Even if they space it out for longer, it's still shit. If Disney were serious about retooling Marvel, then in my opinion, they can't do that without addressing the core problem, which is that Kevin Feige has been promoted beyond his level of competency. He either needs to be let go, or he needs to be demoted and answer to a reinstated Marvel Creative Committee. And then, in my opinion, they need to scrap everything previously developed under Feige, everything except the Chapek greenlit Deadpool 3, and then they need to bring back some old-school writers for Fantastic Four, and delay it until such time that a new script and a whole new face is mapped out, and start from there. As we've seen, there are reports that Bob Iger wants to pivot Disney's output. But at Marvel, based on what they're letting us know through The Hollywood Reporter, they're just doing more of the same, and that just won't cut it. Or do you think it might? What do you think they can do to bring back the MCU, and can it even be done at this point? Let me know in the comments.